Hey, Rock, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Omar, it's a pleasure to be here, buddy.
Dude, I am really excited and honored that you decided to join us. Thanks again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love to share conversation with other passionate bald people.
Me too.
Awesome.
All right. So, folks, today we have Rock Thomas joining us on the Share podcast. Rock comes from humble beginnings on a small Canadian farm near Montreal. He became a self-made millionaire running several successful businesses and 6 award-winning Remax franchises. After achieving epic financial success, showered with accolades and awards, Rock embarked on a quest for personal growth, traveling the world and studying with acclaimed teachers like Tony Robbins, T. Harvey Eckert. T. Harvey Eckert. Is that right?
It's hard to say.
It is hard to say. I've read the book, okay. Deepak Chopra, John Gray, David Wolf, Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer.
Yeah, baby.
Dude. And Stephen Covey, some of the masters. All right. Now, this is where I met Rock. Rock and I met at UPW. The Tony Robbins event unleashed the power within. This was my first UPW. And apparently, this is number 70 what?
72.
Okay, so Rock's been to 72 different Tony Robbins events, including you were in Date with Destiny. I'm sure you've been to a few Date with Destinies.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the one next week, actually, or this week. I think I've probably done about 10 or 12 of those. I've lost track on the exact number of the different events.
Were you at the one that he filmed, I Am Not Your Guru?
Yeah, I'm in that movie about 3 or 4 times. You know, it's just little cameos here and there.
I tell you, man, I have been a huge Tony Robbins fan for 15 years. And it took me that long to go to one of his events. And it just changed my life, like instantly. So I understand what, going back over and over again, it continues to anchor everything that you know and then actually lets you go next level. I'm assuming that's why you keep going back.
Well, if people understand the 4 stages of learning, then it's a no-brainer. But for those people that don't know that, is mastery comes from repetition. Any great athlete repeats over and over again. Stephen Curry dribbling with both hands either side to get the neurology in their brain at a level that creates, neural pathways that are bigger, faster highways in your brain that allow you to see, do, perform, behave in a way that the average person doesn't, because they just didn't spend the time on the task. So by going back over and over again, I hear it differently, I see it differently, I get to apply it at a different level. And that's how, how people say, man, oh, that person's so talented, Celine Dion or Tiger Woods. No, I don't agree with that. They may have a tendency for something, but it's the time on task intentionally that created the appearance of effortlessness.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Did you just freeze up on me? Okay. No, you're good. You're good. All right. Well, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you on the show as I continue to pivot. My beginnings into personal development started in recovery from drugs and alcohol. So when I worked through the 12 steps, okay, that was the first time through it. Once I went through the 12 steps, I became a sponsor. Then I would take guys through the steps. So I was going over it again and again and again. So that idea of practice creates mastery, repetition creates mastery, without knowing, exactly the terminology. That's what I was doing. I was just creating a blueprint, a mind map, right, to continue to mastering what I did. So then pivoting into personal development has been very seamless because everything about it, right, is so different from what I learned in school. And I don't even remember what I learned in school, to be honest with you, if anything.
Well, I think school should be about learning to learn, but because the topics are so boring and we're taught just to sit down and shut up, we actually learn how to not learn. And I consider myself an excellent student. And it's one of the things that I pride myself on. And thanks to my father, because he never wanted to look at my report card. He just said to me, what did you learn at school today that you can apply and show me? Like, can you calculate math in your head? Well, we're going to build this barn. What do you know about the angles that you learned in trigonometry? And he enticed me to take what I learned and to apply it. And it's actually lived my entire life. I tell people, as a coach, a trainer, a speaker, I'm not interested in information. I'm interested in transformation. And transformation comes from the application of information, not the acquisition of information. And that's the difference,
I love it. Applying. Okay. Take what you learn and apply, which leads to transformation. And that's, I guess, the most important aspect of personal development, the massive and rapid transformations that people have. It's what got me all excited. It's what it's what really catapulted me to where I'm at is I hired an NLP coach to go. Seriously, I don't even remember.
Since UPW you did?
No, this was last year. Last year, I hired an NLP coach because I went to an NLP workshop. And I was so blown away by this. It was just a 2-day workshop with just the basic fundamentals of NLP.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd never hired a coach before one-on-one. And I said, dude, can I hire you? Right? Like, obviously, there's some stuff that I'm stuck. It changed my life. I had 9 sessions with him, and I had such huge breakthroughs. And then at UPW, it was what I did at that coaching session got 10x'd.
Yeah,
it was the same.
What was some of the biggest distinctions for you with NLP? What do you use? What are you conscious of now?
Well, the thing for me was my language. The language that I was using combined with the limiting beliefs that I developed from childhood. I mean, when I was a kid, I had stigmatism from birth. So I couldn't see well. I would crawl all over the floor. And then when I went to kindergarten, I went to school and I couldn't see the board. So I would squint my eyes, and they called my parents right away and say, hey, you got to come in and get Omar. He's got to get glasses. He can't see. Broke my dad's heart. So for him, he thought he failed. He thought he did something wrong. Somewhere along the lines, he made a mistake that he was paying for. There's something wrong with me. So from the earliest moments that I can remember, this is what we actually were able to uncover, is that for the longest times, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Right? And I'll never be good enough. I'm always going to be defective. There's always going to be something wrong with me. Dude, it was one of the most heavy experiences of my life to clear the language. It was really reprogramming the language that I was using. Disempowering language. I am not enough. I can't do this. I'll never be able to do this. And reframing that.
Mm-hmm. Right, 100%. And this is why I started the I am movement, because the words that follow I am follow you. So if you're constantly saying I am damaged, or I'm not enough, or I'm defective, or I don't fit in, then your brain, this from NLP, looks for the evidence to substantiate that belief, because your brain doesn't want to be wrong. So somebody calls you a loser and you start looking around, I'm a loser. You try to pick up this girl, it doesn't work. You go, yeah, I'm a loser. You try to apply for a job, you get refused. I'm a loser. Instead of realizing that you probably have to ask 10 girls out to get one, because that's life. You probably apply 10 times for a job, and that's just the statistics that work in applying for a job. So it's really, really, empowering or disempowering when you give yourself a label that limits you. So if you really want to transform your life, what I tell people is you got to start to language yourself. Words create your world, and you got to be conscious of it.
Yes. One of the beautiful things that I got, because I coach people also in the same fashion, right? But one of the things I loved at UPW was the triangle, was the triad, okay? The focus, the language, and the physiology, which I'd already, in different pieces, had already formulated, but that's just such a beautiful, that's what's so beautiful about UPW. It's also basic and easy, right? So a lot of times it's just like recognizing I've been focusing on what I don't want for years, which immediately creates this shrinking of physiology and gives me this emotional state of just, of being lost, of being afraid, of being not enough. It's just this constant, and then being able to actually explain to someone simply on how the physiology works along with what you're focusing on and the language you use, these things, that's the thing. It all of a sudden quickly, wait a minute, I am enough. I do deserve to be a millionaire. I do deserve to impact people's life. I'm a fucking badass motherfucker. You know what I mean? And boom, all next thing you know, you're just in state, right? And so this is the most incredible, this is what I'm talking about. Just how quickly you can be decades of your life suffering with emotional baggage that you've been carrying for 10, 20, some of my clients for 40 years. And the shift happens so fast that it's like, it gives me goosebumps just to watch it happen. It's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life.
So it happens so fast, but does it last?
Well, that's the thing. Great question. It doesn't if you don't apply, if you don't continue to grow, if you don't continue to learn and grow and practice. It's practice.
Yeah. And what else do you need in order for it to last? You practice, you got to grow. What else?
You have to teach it.
Yeah, you're right. We teach what we need to learn. And what does your environment need to be like?
Positive. You need to be surrounded with the right people.
So I created a mastermind called M1 March to a Million because I watched people come from UPW year after year as a trainer for him for 15 years. Like you, lit up like a Christmas tree after the event. Going to take over the world, change your limiting beliefs. Walked on fire. I'm a badass, and I'm now going to change my life. And then 2 years later, I'd see them come back 10 pounds heavier, beat down, feeling shitty, divorced, unemployed, or at the same place or whatever. And I started to scratch my head going, my life just keeps on getting better and better and better. I'm feeling younger and more energized and more healthy, and my businesses are growing, and I'm adding more, and I'm leveraging them, and I'm playing more golf, and I'm using pattern interrupts to break when I hit a bad shot in golf, and then to forget it and move on, emotional floods and the whole thing. And I realized that the strongest force for most people, there are a few that can defy the odds, like Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, if you know that book.
Absolutely.
Right? A man in a concentration camp that defied all odds. And I'm mad at respect for him. And his belief was that, your attitude's your choice. But most people don't have that muscle. But they can get there if their environment, the people they spend time with, provide them with a greenhouse effect or an ecosystem that supports, encourages, and challenges them to be the best version of themselves. So I created this mastermind, and we now, give people that environment online and do events. We've created 40 whole life millionaires in the last 2.5 years. And I say whole life is people who become financially free without giving up their health or their relationships, because those are the most important components. Money just gives you choices, in my opinion. But what you want to do is have more choices so you can actually spend some time working on your health, maybe staying in shape, getting in shape. And in many cases, unfucking up your programming in your relationships. It takes time and it takes energy. So if you've got 3 jobs and you're just trying to make ends meet, you don't have time to do the important work, which is to work on your soul and your character and the programming that was downloaded from your people and your parents and teachers, etc. So we teach people, where do you need it first, but don't give up those pieces. Don't go all in on becoming a millionaire and fuck up the rest of your life. You can go hard there. We'll show you how to leverage and buy passive income, assets. But we're going to also hold your feet to the fire, literally, when it comes to health and we're going to work on your communication and your relationship skills as well. And this is being very gratifying because it becomes the whole person that transforms.
Yes, yes, and that's massive. That's massive because what we find is that when people, or all of us, let's just say people, right, individuals, right, a lot of the wounding that happens when we're younger, there's different ways that we create masks, we create identities, right? So for some, they're wicked smart, so they're able to financially get ahead. So success, money, prestige. So they get to this point where it's like, well, you know what? I had a tough childhood, or I had all these things that happened to me, but look, I made it. I'm rich. I've got all this money. Why am I still unhappy? Why do I still kind of walk around with a chip on my shoulder? And it's what you're talking about right there. There is a balance. There's a balance of needs. We've discussed these needs, like Tony talks about the 6 fundamental human needs. And if we're not growing and contributing, then the fulfillment that we feel for making the money doesn't exist, because it's just constantly, I'm just all about making money. I'm all about making money. But what about cultivating my relationships? What about growing as a person? What about my circle of influence? And what kind of global impact am I having on the world? That is, I'm assuming that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to go down to the source of it, Omar, is that when we grow up, we often our parents are trying to live vicariously through us. They're trying to improve us and make a better version of themselves through us. But in that process, what they do is they actually tell us consistently we're not enough. If I'm going to help you go to soccer practice so you can win and score the goals. I was having lunch at the mall yesterday, the day before, and this family came from playing hockey up here in Canada, and you could hear the parents going, "Yeah, well, you should have shot that puck, just over the pad. It's a good place to score, and your team is average, and that team's really good, and you guys are going to have trouble catching them, and you guys really got to work harder and get better." What's the message you're telling your children? You're not enough. And if you could just be better, then you'd be enough. And mommy and daddy aren't proud of you, and we're going to look bad compared to the other teams in the league. And the parents mean well. I know what they're doing. They're just trying to get the child to enjoy and to be his best personal self. But this happens with their homework. It happens with them not doing their bed. It happens with them being rude, talking too much, not talking enough. And in the process, we lose who we are. We don't get to be just you or me. And we become these things that, I'm a good driver or I'm a bad driver because mommy likes it when I drive safe, or daddy likes it when I drive fast. And we totally lose who we are. And that's why most of us don't feel enough. Because we never actually got to figure out our beingness, just to be. We're measured on our doingness. And that's fundamentally part of the problem. And that's why I say you need time to unravel all that and start to do some of that work and become authentic and vulnerable and real. And you and I have both used drugs and alcohol and to mask the pain of not being enough, because we don't know who we are. And most people are out there using food as a drug, and they're using pornography, and they're using things to mask the pain of being lonely and not fitting in. But that thing on the other end of the screen is not going to reject you like that girl or whatever, and therefore you go there. And so my mission has really become, first, to take responsibility for my own awareness, to forgive myself for a lot of the things that I did to others or did to myself and not knowing, become more aware, and then hopefully share that story with people, and maybe there's something they can relate to. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I can only share my story and say, this is what I've learned. It's like a video game with 20 levels. I might be on level 7. And if I can talk to somebody on level 2, I can help them move through some of the ways they're eating or some of the ways they're talking to themselves and make themselves get to a higher level in their own enlightenment. But I need to have my mentors at level 12 and 15 and 18 help me get to the places that I still need to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's constant work in progress. It's a constant work in progress. So I want to encapsulate what you just said there, because you just touched on something that's very important, which is, why my listeners tune in the first place. It's the drugs and the alcohol, right? So that was my third question for you. But before we get there, right, what's very important for so many of us is a daily routine. Now, someone who is as busy as you are, who's constantly has different retreats you're going to, you've got the M1, mastermind excursions or retreats, or it's like the traveling, and then I'm going to UPW. But one of the things we learn there is how to start our day with intention. So what does your morning or your regular daily routine look like?
Well, it's a great question, because I think that I have two things that I want to achieve in my morning routine. And I think, unfortunately, most people don't have a purpose-driven life or an intentional life. They get up and they're actually trying to survive. So for me, I prefer to have an intention with things that I do. If I'm going to get on this podcast, I have an intention to be present, to play full out, to give as much knowledge as I can. If I go to a business meeting, I want to go there. I want to make sure maybe I connect with 3 people, that I use people's name, that I come fully prepared to add value. So what I do is I do these things with intentionality, and I think it's allowed me to be super productive and really aware and have experiences that exceed most people, because they just haven't used that strategy. So my intention with my morning routine is to shake up the cells in my body, because if you don't, you're kind of in this haze for several hours. You've seen the person stumble into the office at 9 o'clock looking for the coffee machine, right? And
yes.
The second piece is to create and connect to my vision. What is the purpose of my day? I can only live one day at a time. So it's not like I go, well, next week I'm going on vacation and look forward to that. I don't want to live in the future. I want to live as much as I can in the present. So the morning routine is, first thing, probably most of the time if I'm traveling, is just get up, drop out, and do 57 push-ups. Why? Because my goal is to do one more than my age as soon as I wake up. It's just a thing that I have. It moves my body, it gets me the air going, and it gets me shaken up. Ideally, I'll have some water, because we want to hydrate. The body has slept for 8 hours without water, or 6 hours without water, so I want to hydrate. I want to create that so that if I have something later in my body, I got that. I will listen to something great. I will read something great. I will start to get something fired up in my mind. I might look at my goals, my vision board, and I have a 5.5-minute I am recording on my phone with cool music that I listen to somewhere where I'm either brushing my teeth, getting dressed, or in the gym, that repeats, I am gifted, guided, grateful, powerful, passionate, playful, sexy, sensual, sensitive, and blessed. I'm a gladiator. I'm a force for good. I defy the odds, whatever. All the words that describe me in the 8 areas of my life, how I want to show up. I'm great at seeking out opportunities, and I'm open to opportunities coming to me. I'm a shrewd judge of character, and I add valuable people to my team. I'm a master delegator. I'm really good at getting the most out of every experience and using every asset to serve me. Otherwise, I'm just an ass. And the list goes on and on and on. And when you listen to 5.5 minutes of that over and over and over again, we're back to how we started your show, that repetition starts to drive it into my identity. And my identity and your identity are one of the strongest forces that we have, because we desire to remain consistent with how we describe ourselves. If you say you're a badass, you're going to behave like a badass. If you say that you're introverted and you go to a party, likely you probably won't talk to people. But if you say I'm an extroverted person and you and I go to a party and you're not talking to anybody, I might hit you on the shoulder. I'm like, Omar, I thought you said you're extroverted. What the fuck? Right? And then you're going to go, oh, yeah. No, I am extroverted. Hey, John, how are you? Right? So if you surround yourself with people that are comfortable with your highest vibration, I say your friends are comfortable with your present, and your mentors are comfortable with your future. If you hang around me, I'm going to want to know what your dreams and goals are. And then I'm going to want to hold you accountable. If you say that you love to be in great health, you love to have great energy, if you're feeling tired and we're on a plane together or something, I'm going to go, dude, let's stand up, let's walk. Let's go do some dips on the chairs. Let's go stretch our legs around the back. Let's change our state. Let's get energized. And you're going to go, yeah, let's do it. Because you said that's what you wanted and you're being true about it, right? So I want to be around people that know what I want at my highest vibration and that are going to challenge me and support me and encourage me to be that type of person. And that's a missing piece for most people. How do they choose their peer group? The people that are comfortable with them being comfortable with themselves at a lower vibration, because they haven't been encouraged and compelled to live through their comfort zone to the outer edge where life is juice is at. That's where it's at. And you got to reach for it. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love it. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. You know, here's my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway from this is that a lot of times we're trying to put too much into that morning routine. I'm either trying to put too much into it that I lose interest because there's just so much. Simplicity. What is it? Complexity is the enemy of execution. So we have to keep it simple. And here's the thing. I did this morning unintentionally. I had a full roster. I've got a couple of coaching calls. I've got 2 interviews, right? And so I woke up this morning and I said, what do I want? How do I want to show up for each one of these? What preparation do I need to do for each one of these? Yeah. So it was like, okay, so I've got my first coaching call at 9:00. Let me go over what his notes were for last week. I know exactly what I want from this conversation, right? Right before I got on with you, I did a couple of power moves. You know what I mean? Put myself up, got ready, and got in state, right? And it's exactly. I didn't focus on my big dreams and big goals. It was like, what? I've got a full day today. How can I be present? Yes. And how can I be in state? And what do I want to deliver? This is what I needed. Folks, if you're listening, in every conversation, there's going to be lots of information. This is the one that well, so far, I love this. It allows me to be intentional with the day, this moment, right? So I don't get overwhelmed with everything. Yeah.
And if I can piggyback on that, I teach something called the Sunday System for Success, where Sundays for 90 minutes, I set intentionally what my week is going to be like. And it's a 7-step process. But the piece that most people never do is the piece you did, which is to say, for every appointment that I have, for every event or experience I'm going to have, how do I want to show up for that?
Yep.
And it's one of the processes that I do. A great athlete does it. They rehearse the game. They think about it. They got 7 shifts in a game and they think, or 4 at bats. And each time they're going to think, how am I going to show up for that one? You know, do I want to walk? Do I want to hit a home run? Am I going to swing at everything? Am I going to be patient? They have a strategy. They have a visualization around it. And I think that if people would be more open to that, they would focus more on what they want versus what they don't want. And so many people focus on what they don't want because life is like that. You turn on the news and there's an accident, there's traffic, there's this or that, and you go, oh my God, I don't want to drive home in the traffic. I don't want to have a bad boss. I hope it doesn't snow. I hope it doesn't rain. And they're constantly telling themselves what they don't want. What you focus on, as you know, expands. So the art or piece of that morning routine that you asked me about, to me, is about making that decision. What is going to be the intention, the spirit, the emotion, the theme, if you want, of your day? And how do you get the most out of it on a consistent basis? And when you start doing that on a regular basis, you will never want to get away from it. You want to do it over and over and over again, because the same way Tony makes his move before he comes on stage every time is you anchor yourself for a certain vibration, a level of performance, and only you get to decide that. I say to people, your voice is your choice. When you tell yourself you're a loser, you tell yourself you're tired, you tell yourself there's not enough time, that's a choice that you're actually making that most people don't know they're making, but you're actually making it. Nobody forced you to say, I'm tired. Nobody forced you to say, I don't have enough time. There's 24 hours in a day. I don't say I don't have enough time. I just say I choose not to do that. It's much more empowering.
Yes. You know? It's a choice.
The choice. And choice, by the way, Omar, makes you feel powerful. If you go, I have to pick up the kids and take them to soccer. you're already selling yourself NLP wise that this is going to be not what you want. How about I get to pick up my kids and take them to soccer and be the best cheerleading dad on the sidelines and high five all the kids, not just my kids, and then meet a couple of new parents and maybe find somebody that I can inspire or maybe I can laugh with. Yes.
Yes.
Like people don't show up to life like that. They go, oh, take your kids to soccer.
Yep.
You decided to have the kids. You decided to enroll them in soccer. Why not show up cheerful, feeling good and feeling blessed that you're in a country that actually has a place for your kids to play soccer? You know?
And that you actually have the means to get them there, to provide them with the soccer, to pick them up in a car, right? There's so many things. This is another thing that we talk about too in recovery, right? It's for a lot of us, the recommendation is get up in the morning, write a gratitude list every single day of everything that you're grateful for. Because if you don't, we do the same thing we were just talking about. I focus on what I don't want. Oh my God, I don't want to go to work. Oh my God, I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't want. It's this whole idea of how do I connect with the most amazing, inspiring things in my life, who I am, what I bring, what's my value, and there's my focus. There's my focus instead of, and a lot of times, something I don't do, but what this is making me think of, at night, if I set my intentions, and I don't know if you do this, but I've heard about setting your intentions at night for what the things you're going to think about when you wake up in the morning, so that your eyes open up and you immediately start thinking about the things that you wrote about the night before.
100%. It's part of my ritual. I have a journal. I do my gratitude. I ask myself, what am I grateful for? What did I learn? What am I proud of? What did I achieve? I have 4, 5, 6 different questions that I circulate through. And then I'll often take a challenging situation and ask my unconscious mind to solve it during the evening. Come up with an idea for that employee that left or for that lawsuit that I have going on, and let the universe go to work for me. And I'll often wake up with a piece of paper beside my bed and capture some notes, sometimes even in the middle of the night. I create a lot of content. I've written 3 books. A lot of times I get these epiphanies in the middle of the night, these downloads from the universe, if you want to call it that. And I'm like, whoa, that's a really cool idea. Like, your voice is your choice. That came one morning I woke up. Your voice is your choice. And I love the way it sounded, and it's a piece of it. The words that follow I am, follow you came to me in the night. So these are little sound bites that have become, synonymous with my message, but they came because I was open and I didn't do all the heavy lifting myself. If you're willing to dial into that program, it's available.
Challenge. So challenge I'm facing, ask my unconscious mind to solve it for me overnight.
Yeah.
Dude, got a couple of those. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I got a couple of those. I'm setting into motion tonight.
I'll tell you what, man, the universe wants to work for you. Yep. It's like, oh, throw me another one, man. Let me handle that, because it's easy for the universe. It's got access to all the information. It's like, yeah, it's a piece of cake. I'll knock that one out for you.
Guys, this is modeling. Okay, success leaves clues. When you hear something significant, when you hear something that's going to cut time is the most valuable resource we have. Okay, you waste a minute, you're never going to get it back. You can't save it, you can't earn it. So anytime somebody delivers massive value to your door, take it and run with it. This is the easiest thing. I want the universe to work for me. You just have to believe that it will.
Exactly. You have to have faith, and you have to have that universal belief, and then you send it out there, and then you let it go. Don't be attached to it. Just allow, be open, listen. The universe whispers. It doesn't scream. So if you're not listening and you're all up in your head and you're like, whoa, it's never going to work, I'm freaked out, the universe, you won't hear it. You'll overwrite that channel. That's why meditation is a good part of the morning or evening routines, is quiet the mind, slow it down. You'll never stop the chatter completely, but at least you can create some openings for some new channels to get dialed in.
Beautiful. Okay, so speaking of which, another obstacle that a lot of people in recovery face is this idea of a higher power. So for some people, it's God. For some people, it's something different, right? what is your experience, or how do you channel a higher power? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So conflicted, I'll tell you, because my father was very religious and he died of cancer at 62, and he put all his faith into God. He didn't want to go to the hospital. He didn't believe in modern medicine. He said God will take care of him. I watched my dad wake up at 5:30 every morning while I went out to feed the horses. He went into his study and he sat there and he read the Bible, and he was still sitting there when I came back an hour later. And I thought, man, this is so dedicated. This must be so good. He was successful at business. He was, he drove a nice car, wore a nice suit. He was respected for a little kid, 11, 12, 13. You look at your dad and he seemed to be above average compared to the other people. He was a very honorable man with my stepmom. He pulled out the chair for her. He always made sure that, he held the umbrella for her. He was a gentleman. So I looked at all those things and I thought those are nice characteristics. But when he suffered miserably and I ended up paying his bills because he didn't manage his money well, and I ended up taking care of him and flying twice to Australia and moving him from one house to he literally died in a small little tin cabin. It was very sad. He had no money left and I ran out of money to take care of him. And I thought, if that's the work of God, I'm confused. And so I learned at a young age, Omar, and this is not something that people need to take on. It's just I learned if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I got pissed off at God. I was like, man, he put in a lot of time. He paid his dues and you abandoned him. So I said, I don't know if I could trust you. But as I went through life, I started to realize that it just doesn't make sense how beautiful things are, nature, and it just can't have just fallen together. So there's some force out there, and maybe I just need to learn a new way to communicate. Maybe my father didn't have the right conversation with that source. So I've just decided to allow it to be part of my life and to ask for help and ask for guidance. And often when I step on stage, I say, please use me as a tool and guide me to do what is right. And sometimes I really believe it and I feel like I'm completely guided. And other times I'm like, dude, you left me out here on my own again, So, but maybe that's just part of the journey. Is like a good parent. Sometimes let's go with the bike and you're on your own. And other times they're there to catch you so you don't fall. So I think it's really up to each person to define what that is for them. There's, without question, I believe in a universal power. And I think it just depends on how you choose to have that relationship with that individual. So that's my take on it. And it's more or less works for me.
As you were telling that story, I can't help but think about this other little story about the idea of God. And this guy is he's in his house and the floods are coming. There's rains coming. He's getting this notifications that he's got to get out of his house, right? Because the flood's coming. And he's like, no, don't worry. God's going to take care of me, right? So, taxi leaves. There was a guy in a car. Hey, dude, get in the car. Let's go. We got to get out of here. No, God's going to take care of me. Flood starts to come up. He's on his roof. Here comes a boat. Hey, come on, let's go. Get in the boat. Oh, no. I've already prayed. God's going to save me. Then helicopter comes, right? No, God's going to save me. Guy drowns. Ends up in heaven. God, what happened? I waited for you. I waited for you to show up. I waited for you to save me. He goes, I sent a car. I sent a boat and a helicopter. What else did you want me to do?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Life doesn't happen to us. It happens for us. And one of the things that I wrote down here that I love because it's been a part of my life, it saved my life. It's that whisper. It's that whisper. When I was beat down, the voice came. I had a choice to listen to it or not.
Yeah.
And so maybe your dad heard the voice and just maybe God did send the helicopter and did send the boat. You know what I mean? He prayed every single.
He sent the doctors, and he said no. So I get it, and that was what I was able to turn around in my own mind. I just also have experiences people that are incredibly spiritual and religious, and they give their faith, and then a good friend of mine just just a salt to the earth and slipped and fell and got a concussion on her head, just going to take the garbage out of her own house. And now she's suffering. And this is not a more, beautiful soul, selfless soul, helpful soul to take her shirt off the back, give it to a homeless person. And so sometimes I'm like, wow, you have really weird ways of working. I get confused, and then the things that happen, cancer to a 2-year-old child and that sort of thing. So I haven't tried to figure all that out. I just think you got to do your best to have your own relationship with the spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it that's out there. And hopefully, it works for you.
Yeah, no, and it has to be a personal experience, just like your personal experience with this morning ritual, with connecting with the universe, with meditating, reading the signs, listening to the whispers, because I was raised in a very religious family. My mother's a Jehovah's Witness, and I walked away from God for 20 years. And I said, this is what I'm out. I want nothing to do with this. And it was the dogma that was crushing me. But I tell you what, man, when I was ready to pull a bullet in my mouth, and I just remember at some point, it's like, either take me out of this world or, help me get clean and sober. A voice came. This is the whisper that I was telling you about. When you said that, it reminded me of that little whisper that came to me and says, remember that counselor that you went to go see who told you probably need to go to those meetings? You should probably go talk to him. Then that moment changed my life. I wouldn't be here on this call if I hadn't listened to that voice. And I just chose to believe that I'd been missing. I was just like misreading whatever that higher power was, man. We're deviating, but
well, I do have a question for you. Though, and this is a thing that massive respect for the 12-step process and AA and what's done for people around the world. However, every day that people go there, they say, I am an alcoholic.
Yes.
And I teach people that the words that follow I am follow you.
Yes.
So what is your take on that? Is that admitting that they have no power over themselves? What exactly is the purpose of saying that repeatedly over and over again?
It's disempowering. It's disempowering.
It's disempowering?
Yeah, it's disempowering. When I went to Minnesota, I got certified as a sober coach, as a peer recovery specialist. And what we refer to ourselves as is a person in long-term recovery, because we recognized that there's such that we create an identity around, hi, my name's Omar, I'm an alcoholic. Hi, my name's Omar, I'm an addict. Right? And so it continues to reinforce the thing that we're trying to change in our lives. That's something that I'm a proponent of, big change when it comes to how we talk about recovery, because a lot of the language that we use is disempowering. And not only that, our percentage of success is probably about 10%. That's got to tell you a lot about the language we use.
So one of the things I do with NLP is when I'm coaching people is people go, God, I'm so bad with technology, or whatever they say. I'm so bad with organization, or I'm forgetful. And I will say to them, you used to be what? And they go, I'm so bad with technology. And I go, you used to be what? And they go, I'm bad with, I get it. I used to be bad with technology. So I help them create a new identity through the power of language, right? So yes. I don't know the whole 12-step process, but for me, if I was, nobody's asking me, but I would say I used to be an alcoholic. Instead of, hi, my name is Rock Thomas, I'm an alcoholic, I would say, hi, my name is Rock Thomas, I used to be an alcoholic, and I'm moving toward being I'm an empowered person and making my own choices, or something like that. I'd be curious to see what the minds of the group that drive that, how they would feel about that.
Oh, it would be met with the same with the same sort of grace that a religion would. If you showed up at a Catholic church and said, if we just changed a couple of words in the Bible, just to create a little more empowering, it would do the same thing. The dogma is so strong in there as well. They hold on to it as is with so much fear. that if we were to change any of it,
yeah,
right, that it would completely lose its meaning. So there is I've done a lot of stepping away.
yeah,
This is a recovery podcast, but as you can see, I've got members that I'm now bringing in, or guests that I'm bringing in, because the conversations that I want to have are wide open. It's inclusivity. It's about knowledge. It's about hacks. It's about saving time. It's about bringing fulfillment and happiness into our lives. And when we say things like, I used to be an alcoholic, to try and continue to change the neural pathways and create new neural pathways and new mindsets, right? That's something that when I started getting into personal development, I watched people in my own circle start to be like, oh, wow, you're starting to talk different. That's when I started to realize that I needed to expand my circle. I needed to be around people like Rock Thomas, right? And Tony Robbins, right? And so I wanted to expand and to be able to take whatever came into my existence and go, wow, that's something I can get behind. I'm going to bring this into my realm. I like this. This is something new, but it fits with where I'm going.
Yes.
That's who I am today. That's my belief. And I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. A lot of the language most definitely could be changed. And I'm confident that if that was the case, we would see a much higher success rate. I'm confident of it.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Imagine somebody who quit smoking would walk into the dinner party and go, "Hi, everybody, I'm a smoker." Right? and the guy's wife would look at him and go, "John, you quit smoking 4 years ago." He goes, "No, I'm a smoker." Like, it doesn't even make sense. But I don't know. It's just me, and I can only work with the things I've shifted in my life, from working hard to working smart, from being a struggling farm boy to changing my identity to being an entrepreneur, from being not an author to being an author, to becoming a best-selling author of 3 books, to now believing that I actually have the skill of writing and communicating, when in school I was taught I was stupid and I couldn't string words together, to being a skinny little bone dog kid that was useless to a great athlete, and then going on from pizza face, which was my identity as somebody that kids laughed at because I had lots of acne, to actually literally changing it to model Clint Eastwood, to becoming ruggedly handsome. And I have that part of me that says I'm ruggedly handsome. I'm not Tom Cruise pretty boy, but I have that side to me that feels that way. And I've consciously made those evolutions. And I've changed and gone on to 36 streams of income, and to somebody that, has gone from a poor father role model in certain areas to being a better father role model. And so the list goes on. But I've used that technology of the I am statements to bring me from where I am currently today to where I think that higher version of myself is. That's possible, that I didn't know about. And by the way, Omar, often you need somebody to see your potential in you. I say to people I'm working with, I said, "Who's discovering you?" And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Who's discovering you?" And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Somebody discovered Justin Bieber. Somebody discovered Michael Bublé. Somebody discovered Tiger Woods, or saw him and then brought him and said, you got something special." Somebody's going to discover you. They're going to look at you and go, "You have the it in this area." When I was in real estate, I was struggling. One sale the first year, but worked my butt off, great work ethic, really curious. And this one agent came up to me as I was kicking the photocopy machine after I lost another sale, and I felt like a loser. And she goes, "Looks like you're having a rough day." And I go, "Yeah, I'm such a loser. I can't make this work. I got to work at a senior citizen home at night just for gas in my car. I'm never going to make it." And she stopped and put her hand on my shoulder. And she said, "Rock." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "You will one day be the best agent in this office. Trust me. I've been around long enough to know. I see your work ethic. I see your discipline. And it's just a matter of time." And I literally looked behind me and I go, "You talking to me?" And she said, "Yeah." I'll never forget that. Nicole Teberge was her name. She was the #1 agent in that office. And it was that look that I got to borrow her belief And then I became the number one agent. I went on to buy the office. I went on to break every record. And I owned the largest real estate RE/MAX franchise in the province of Quebec. And nobody's even come close to it ever since. Because of that one moment with that one person that saw in me something I didn't see in myself. If you do not have mentors around you, nobody to discover the hidden gem in you that nobody saw. My father beat me down. I was never good enough. God bless him. I became disciplined and resourceful because I developed other skills. But you got to get out there into the world so other people can see your light and they can remind you of that part of you that has not yet come to life. They need to see your light so that you can help, or they can help you bring it to life.
Wow. Wow. Dude, drop the mic. That was powerful. Thank you, Rock. I was going to ask you that question. As a matter of fact, no need to ask it anymore because I had two inflection points that I wanted to cover. I heard your interview on Rod Cleef's podcast.
Yeah.
And the episode 265, from overcoming adversity to selling 85,000 homes. Powerful, powerful interview. And so, that was one of the inflection points, right? Like, what happened from going from being this farm boy to real estate mogul, right? And so there's the snapshot. It's like I jumped in, I did the work. How long were you grinded and out? How long did it take before that moment showed up? Before you were kicking that copy machine and that person came behind you and put her hand on her shoulder. What was the time that it took for you to get to that point?
Well, the first year I made one sale, I was completely useless. I was into my second year when this happened. The second year I ended up making 32 sales, then 45, 68, and then 99. The average agent, by the way, sells 6 homes a year. So,
so you went from 1 to 32 in 1 year.
Yeah. And
what was it that moment? Was it what she said, or you must have done something?
I had a mentor. I had 2 mentors. Tony Robbins was my psychology mentor. I carried him in the car on tape. I started to learn how to run my brain better. And I had a tactical one, Wayne Jordan, who taught me the ins and outs of sales and the processes and the strategies. And combining those two together with my work ethic, it was just a matter of time that, it would break open. And so I just kept on showing up and I kept on learning. I have a process called CSI, Creative Suggestions for Improvement. And what I do whenever I want to improve something, and I do this with my Sunday system for success. On Sundays, I take about 90 minutes and I reflect back on the last week or the last month or quarter, if it's the end of the month or the end of the quarter. And I look back and I flip through my agenda and I go, okay, what did I do that was awesome? Where was I a rock star? Where do I want to remember how much of a badass I am? Just like a parent, I think often of the little boy in me and I go, would a good parent just point out the crap in a child, or would a good parent go, my God, you know what? You were so good on Wednesday night in that soccer game. It was so fun to see you work hard. You didn't score a goal, but you know what? You back-checked really, really great. I just want to let you know I appreciate the effort you put in to supporting your team. And I noticed you did your homework and you made your bed. And I noticed that, you were cheerful and playful with your sister. And so capture all those. I want to do that for the little boy in me. So I do that at the end of the week. And then when I'm feeling good about myself, and I'll go, and where could I have brought more of myself? What can I learn? Where was I an idiot, an asshole, stupid, short, rude? Where did I let my emotional IQ drop to a place that it didn't serve me? And now how do I make that better? Well, maybe I need to read a book on letting go. I went down that path for a while, Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, and Letting Go. All those books were around my need for control on things and what it's like when you just allow. So that happens upon reflection. It doesn't happen when you race to the next week and to the next goal. It happens upon reflection. Any great athlete or sports team looks back at the highlight reels, looks back on the video, the film, to learn. Not to criticize, not to make people wrong, but to capture what worked and to notice where they didn't have a consciousness around something, and then say, next time, when you throw that ball, you've got to let it go a little bit earlier because you keep on getting hit and hurt, Tony Romo. You know what I mean? So you learn through that process, you tweak, and you become better. So that's a process I've fallen in love with. And people are often, well, how do you keep on getting, growing your businesses and doing all these things? I sold that business in 2006 for $4 million. And then I came back and created a new one in 2012. Well, guess what? I'm the largest real estate company in the province of Quebec, again, agent count wise in that area. And nobody did it for the 10 years I was gone. Nobody. So it's because I don't think people pay attention to how to get better on a day-to-day basis. It's back to the morning routine, Omar. Is the morning routine sets the tone of the day, you win the day. And I think when you win every day and you recap at night what worked and what didn't work, then you get a little bit better tomorrow. Most people are just, falling asleep in front of their TV and just glad that they made it through the day. And I think that small difference, accumulated compound effect of getting 1% better every day, gives you an edge on the competition.
Dude, I love it. So let me get this straight. 2006, you sold your real estate business, okay, for $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10 years later, you started another one?
2013.
Okay, 2013. And so in that time frame, the franchise or the what you sold, was it a franchise? What was it?
Yeah, it was actually 6 franchises that I sold and 270 agents. Now I think today they have about 165 or something spread out over 6 offices, and I opened up 2 offices, and I have a total of somewhere around 220 or 230 agents in a couple of years.
Okay, and so it's the tools and the strategies that you use in your life for everything then. It's this, you apply the same principles in your business, in your personal life, in all areas.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many principles, like work ethic. You got to work on a work ethic. You have a lousy work ethic. You can have a great strategy, but if you only plant 1 seed a day and the guy next to you is planting 100, he's going to have a bigger harvest than you will. Mm-hmm. So you got to have a work ethic, right? But you also have to be passionately curious, like Einstein was. He goes, I stuck with the problems longer than anybody else through passionate curiosity. I wasn't smarter. I just was more persistent. I have that characteristic as well. You got to pay attention to the details. You got to be looking at what's really happening and then get better that way. So it's a lot of little things, and we teach that in our seminars and stuff like that, but the fundamentals of success are not that different. You just have to put your own personal story on it.
I love it. It's beautiful. So then the next question is, how did the next inflection point was, how did you pivot and go from the real estate? Well, you still have the real estate business, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then you've got that on. So you just decided to move into the personal development field as well.
Yeah. Well, that story is interesting because after I had huge success as a broker and I bought the office and I was selling 100 homes a year and the average agent was selling 6, and my office was a better office, was probably around 12. But I would start to teach my agents how they could do what I did. And that was my job as the broker owner. And then I started to notice that most of them were not going out and taking the information and acting upon it. So I started to study why, because I'm passionately curious. And what I noticed was that if you give the right strategy to somebody, but they're in conflict around their values, they fear rejection, they have a limiting belief around their self-worth, they think that it won't work, they think it won't be worth it, they won't work out. A lot of people don't work out because they tried it, they didn't have a good strategy, and they didn't feel like it was worth it. I sweat for what? I just, I don't need to work out. So I had to teach people the inner game, the mindset piece, get them to work on their visualization skills, talk about their dreams and goals, have them set goals, have them be held accountable, and give them that, what I call the inner game. The part that's invisible is much more important than the part that's visible. And then when I started to do that, people's sales went from, 80,000 to 140 to 250, and they started to break records and move into bigger houses and buy nice cars and go on great vacations. And that's one of the reasons my office was so successful, because we actually got real results. So everybody wanted to come work at our office.
I love it. So you would coach them first in personal development.
Yes.
Clear the limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Get all that horrible negative self-talk that they've been focusing on all their lives, and then fucking turbocharge these guys.
You got it, Omar.
Dude,
you were there.
Pumped.
Boom.
Gosh. Boom. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Dude, I'm all fucking jacked right now.
I know, right? And it's all manufactured inside. We construct it. That's how cool it is.
It is completely in your realm of possibilities without anything in your body except water and air.
Yeah.
That's it. Water and air and a mindset.
That's it.
Create that impact. Create that state. Yeah, I'm all jingly right now. I feel like I'm at the end of one of Tony Robbins' screaming sessions. So, Rock, this is exactly what I wanted. It was actually exceeded my expectations. I thank you so much for joining us today. This is like massive value. And what I want right now is, please tell our listeners your books, your website, how they can reach you, about M1, the whole thing. Anything anyone would want to know, and what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so information is great, but transformation is better because it's lasting. And in fact, if you learn and you don't apply, you just wasted that time. You might as well just go watch a movie or entertain yourself. So the place I invite people to start at is to go to my website, rockthomas.com. You'll be immediately prompted to get my free book, The Power of Your Identity, which gives you the 5 steps to changing your identity. The words that follow I am, follow you. And that's free, so you can do that if you're not in a position to invest in your personal development. I believe in investing 10% of my earnings in personal development. So if you're one of those people that you're comfortable with that, then you can, on my site, look at our products. And we have anything from $50 all the way up to $30,000. The $30,000 products are more in the mastermind groups, where you spend time with myself, with my coaches, with my mentors. I have a group that I started 6 years ago called Go Abundance, a tribe of healthy, wealthy, generous men that choose to lead epic lives and don't apologize for being awesome. So if you like adventures and bucket list adventures that you can do around the world, and working with other millionaires that are completely focused on leading an epic life, that's a really good place for you to check out. If you're striving to become a millionaire financially free, you're working on your money blueprint, you're not where you want to be, then m1.com is a great place to go to, because we will interview you and find out where you're at. And, we reject about 3/4 of the applicants because they're not ready. And we have another group that's called the 90-Day Challenge, where we help you understand your money blueprint and a little bit of self-mastery in those 90 days, because so many people are just starting out their journey of personal development, or they have so many deep limiting beliefs that even when you show them the path, they don't believe it's possible for them. They think it's reserved for other people. And I was like that. Before I was an author, Omar, I thought, who am I to write a book? And now I realize that everybody can write a book. Everybody has a voice, and you can get better at it. You don't have to be a best writing author. You can be a best-selling author. It's far more lucrative and far more impactful. So those are the places. We have coaches. We do all kinds of different things. But the transformation comes from being in an ecosystem that is sustainable long-term. And that's why I created my mastermind programs, because I got really tired of actually coaching people and watching them not be able to sustain it, or watch other people go into other people's events and also not be able to sustain it. Because imagine, you go from this dirty fish tank into a clean fish tank called an event or coaching, and then you go back into the dirty fish tank. it doesn't take long before you're swimming around and you pick up the dirt whether you want to or not. You can't even not pick it up because it's there. And that's how people live their life. And they wonder why, you know, the buddy who says, let's go for a beer, when they want to listen to a podcast and change their life, but they don't want to not belong. So those are the big things for people, is to understand that your environment is the most empowering or disempowering element that's going to determine your outcome. So those are most of the places you can find me.
Beautiful. Folks, this is all going to be listed on Rock's show notes on the Share podcast. So go there. It'll be his website. Get the free book. Check out the resources. Check out M1. M1 has its own website too, correct?
Yeah, gom1.com. Yeah.
gom1.com. I'll have that listed as well. All right. Excellent. So what I'm going to have is I've got 5 closing questions for you. Are you ready?
Go.
Excellent. Okay. So number 1, what was holding you back from getting started in your journey of self-discovery?
Lack of a mentor telling me that there's another conversation to be had.
Lack of a mentor telling me there's another conversation needed to be had.
There's a lack of a conversation. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that that world exists. Most people, you know, they think that their thoughts are their thoughts, and they're not. You just need better programming. You need somebody to go up to you and say, you're a badass. And keep on telling you that day in and day out until you believe it. It's really that simple, believe it or not.
I love it. Number 2, at what point did you have a spiritual awakening? That aha moment in your life when you realized that you could make a real difference in your life and in the life of others?
I've had several of them. I had one when I was about 13 or 14 years old, when I almost died at the hands of my brother. And I broke free from him. And I remember looking down at him and thinking to myself, I am not going to die at your hands. And I felt like the Hulk, actually. I broke free. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to become a millionaire. And it may not sound like a spiritual, but it was a knowing that I tapped into a part of myself I didn't know existed before because of circumstances. And I had one a couple of years ago at a meditation retreat in India after 4 days of meditation. And I realized that all my life I had to be strong, and that showing weakness was not something I was able to do. You know, my name's Rock. I'm supposed to be strong. And the relief that I felt when I got to actually show that there's times when I'm not strong, and when I just want to curl up like a little kid and cry in my girlfriend's arms and just go, frickin', I can't believe what's happening. And the permission to do that was such relief. I physically cried and cried and cried in the arms of my Indian guru. And it was just a magical, beautiful experience. I felt cathartically released and free to just not be strong all the time. So I've had a couple of them. I've had many in between, but I think for me, they're spiritual or ahas or breakthroughs or epiphanies, whatever you want to call them.
Wow, the power of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Man, I love it. You know, real quick, Rock, I didn't ask you this one question, which is like my show. You had mentioned at some point that you'd had your own bouts with drugs and alcohol. What did that look like, and how long did that last?
Well, I grew up on a farm and my parents didn't drink, so I was never really around it until maybe the last years of high school. And then when I left at 17, I worked most of the time, so I didn't really drink that much. And then I started to go out at night and realized that it was really a nice social lubricant. And
yes.
I was introverted and I had an identity around being pizza face and ugly, so it helped me, you know, talk to the girls. So it was more of a social thing. I went to Southeast Asia when I was 23 and bought a bag of pot and smoked every day on the beach and ate a lot of sugar and just hung out. But I think it was later when I started to have some success in business that I revisited it a little bit. It's like I partied so hard. It was like, what's the next high? So I did a lot of socializing, and then one day somebody, you know, pulled out some pot and then pulled out some Coke, and I was like, oh, I've never tried that. And, you know, whatever I was, 38 years old, let me give that a shot, or 35. I can't remember how old I was. And then one day I realized this doesn't take you anywhere. It takes you for its immediate gratification, and then you feel like crap later, and you don't become a better person. And that led me to Tony in 2000. And just by reading his book, I quit cold turkey, boom, like that. And
which book?
It was actually, his book led me to his tapes called Get the Edge, and I listened to Get the Edge with people in my office every day. And it was through that I was able to create the transformation. I went to A Day with Destiny in 2001 and just moved on and made health a priority. I didn't even have health on my values list. And I changed the way I ate. I changed the way I saw health. And it was a big, big turnaround for me. So, I even was a smoker. At 23, I was driving a taxi. I smoked cigarettes. And I knew every time I lit one up, I felt like I knew it wasn't me. But I was just bored 12 hours in a taxi. And people would offer me cigarettes, and I wanted to connect and belong. So all of that, out the wayside. Now I still will have the occasional drink, a couple of glasses of wine, what have you, or once in a while if I go out with the boys, we'll tie one on if we're in Cabo or something like that. But as a general rule, salads and fish and chicken and smoothies is the way that I go.
Clean. Yeah. Clean eating. Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That's one important tidbit for my show. All right. So do you have a favorite book or possibly several books that you would recommend to our listeners?
So I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound very selfish, but I wrote a book called Your Epic Life Blueprint, and I had somebody else do the audible version. And I listened to it for the first time, the audible version, because you don't generally write your book and read it. This last Christmas while I was in Mexico. And while I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, this is amazing. This is like a really good book. Because it was in a different voice, I'm like, it didn't feel like my words. And I thought, if it wasn't my book, I would run around, I would buy like 20 copies for my best friends. So I'm going to do the selfish thing on this, and I'm going to say Your Epic Life Blueprint, and get it and listen to it. And if it's not awesome, reach out to me and I'll refund you. But I'm telling you, I think it's a fantastic book if you're really, really open to transformation.
100% guaranteed, folks. Your Epic Life Blueprint on Audible. Is it on Audible?
On Audible.
On Audible. Okay. I love it. I should be a reader.
You could be.
I'm also ruggedly handsome.
Yes, you are, baby.
All right. Two more, Rock. Two more. What is the best suggestion you have ever received?
That's a tough one, but I'm going to go with to learn not to try to please people by being somebody you're not. Everybody else is taken. Fall in love with yourself and be the best version of yourself. And that's a lifelong, I think, exercise. But I would say if you focused on that, it's like, I think of Bill Murray or people like that Bill Murray's not a handsome man, but he has found a way to be Bill Murray better than anybody else could be Bill Murray, as an example. And I just think that that's very endearing. So I think we all need to be ourselves, and the more we give permission for each other to do that, it's like the guy who loves himself. You love him because he's so freaking in love with himself. You're like, yeah, he's like a complete jerk right now, but I love that about him, Like, look at him talk to that girl. He's rude. He's touching her. He shouldn't be doing that. She's pissed off, but it's hilarious,
So true. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Exactly.
All right. So finally, if you could give our listeners only one suggestion, what would it be?
Become a meaning master. You're giving meaning to everything anyway. Give things a meaning that is empowering. I lost all my hair to alopecia when I was 40 years old. I ran a marathon, then I went for a cleanse in Fiji with Tony, and I came back in 2 months. I lost all my hair. I have no eyebrows, no eyelashes. I have no nose hair. I have no hair. And I thought I was dying. And the initial thing was like, I'm not going to be, nobody's going to like me anymore. I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to be bald. I'm going to look old and all that fear. But at the end of the day, I was able to ask a better question. What's great about this? And give it an empowering meaning. And the empowering meaning was, I'll never have a bad hair day again. Right? I don't have to spend time going to the hairdresser, barber, and shampoo, and all that money I'm going to save. I still do a massage a month. And when I walk out of the massage, I go, yes, alopecia. Thank you.
So how long ago was this?
That's 16 years now.
16 years with this look.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. I've had this same look since I was 25 years old. So wow. 20, 35, 45, we're talking over 20 years with the same look, because I lost my hair when I was in my 20s, early 20s. I was in college already losing my hair.
Wow.
And so at 25, I was like, I can either look like George Costanza, or I could just, shave it off and just be a badass, right? And so here's the thing. Most people I can't even imagine you with hair, Rock. I
know. So,
you look fantastic.
And, I'm going to say this is that they say that, God made a few perfect heads and they gave hair to everybody else, right? But that being said, tongue in cheek, is I think the fact that I embraced it, the fact that I said, this is what it is, I accept it, I celebrate it. The money I save is I use it to something else to take care of myself. And that attitude, I think, actually, if you believe this, can change how you physically look, right? And
great point. Yes.
So I think I've learned how to wear it well. And I think, so you asked me, what's the advice or whatever you said, is be a meaning machine. To say that everything in life is an asset, and an asset creates, right? It's a positive thing. Liabilities drain, assets create. So if you don't look at every event in your life, your divorce, your car accident, your firing, the hiring, the tidal wave, whatever, if you don't look at it as an asset, then you're an ass.
And with that, we're going to close. All right, folks. Oh, my God, Rock, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. We had fun, Omar.
Dude, this was awesome. All right, folks, we've now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica, pura vida. Give us a pura vida, Rock.
Pura vida.
Boom. And that's a wrap.